Okay, what's up, everybody? Good morning. Welcome to a home day edition of Morning Scone presented by Brock, the Veterans Rugby Club, HUDCO Roofing, HUDCORoofing.com, Restored Motions, RestoredMotions.com, and ProCharge EV, ProChargeEV.com. Well, what do we do now? Come here. Oh, look at Hershey. Want to say hi? Say hi. Hi, everyone. What do we do now? Baseball is over. The SEC Media Days isn't until July 17th. It's been 19 days, less than 3 weeks. I don't know what to do. Guess we just kind of sit around. Darren Reeves said I'm bored now too. Now, championship celebration tonight for the Tigers out of the box, 7:30. I will not be there because T-Bob and I will be doing Scone and Tea at Oliver Twist. Hope to see all of you there. Come on out, 7 to 8 p.m. It's honestly, it's going to be a little weird kind of getting back to work today because we've been basically just for almost 2 weeks now, just submerged into College World Series. And there was a lot going on. I mean, LSU football had commitments and decommitments, and there's this the NCAA released a memo yesterday updating NIL standards, which is a really big deal, by the way. I mean, I don't know that everybody's super duper deeply interested in that, but like, we'll talk a little about that. You know, Saints are cruising toward opening camp, and got a lot. There's a lot going. Baseball transfer portal is about to get crunked up. I mean, crunked up. Because Jay Johnson's got to make up for what I'm sure he perceives as lost time. So, I mean, you're going to lose maybe 20 guys from this baseball team. I mean, it is going to look dramatically different next year. So, all right, let's say some good morning. See what y'all got. Fire away. Bubba Smith, good morning. Charlie Cavell. Michael Thacker, good morning. Sucks knowing this natty will be forever tarnished by multiple midweek losses, LOL. Truex, what's up? Randy Dabdoob said jump in the pool. I'm sure I'll do that this weekend. Trey Potan, what's going on, man? Good morning, good morning, good morning. Ben Boudreaux, good morning. You think LSU baseball is going to get burned from Tennessee out of the portal? So, Ben, I've been asked that a bunch, and my answer is this. Provided Chase Burns stays in the portal, yes, I think he will end up at LSU. Those things are never done until they're done, and the kid's enrolled. But what I'll say is that there's always a chance that Tennessee steps up and finds a way to keep him there. I don't know. But what I will say is sufficient is that LSU was well aware Burns was going into the portal before it actually popped up. And the thing is, sometimes players enter their name in the portal before it actually shows up on the portal. So they're in, it just hasn't been like processed yet. So I think those even before Burns was formally listed in the portal, his name popped up. Like, I think they knew he was already in the portal. So, and yes, I think LSU is easily the odds-on favorite to land him, provided he does leave Tennessee. Bart's Saint Germain parade tonight. It's not a parade, Bart. It's a they have the championship celebration at the box starting at 7:30 tonight. There'll There'll be speakers. They're going to unveil the Intimidator, the new Intimidator. So 7:30 at the Box. Bubba Smith, Charlie Cavell. Oops, sorry. Already did those. Hey, Dad. Good morning. More bottle drinking and belly busters. Sam Bacon is Jay out portal hunting today. You better believe that. You better believe that for sure. Let's see. Clinton Auto, what's up? You haven't had your fill of T-Bob over the last 2 weeks, brother. Oh, man. God bless him. But no, man, we do Scone and tea every Wednesday, so the grind never stops. Charlie Cavell, give me your projected starting lineup for 24. So someone asked me this on the post game the other night. I left out Tommy White. I was going through all the position players, and I cannot believe I left out Tommy White. I was like, yeah, I'm an idiot, sorry. So I'll give you a Brady Neal catching. I think Bear Jones will play first. So I threw a total caveat, I threw a curveball to people on the post game, and I said, I think Luke Hill and Gavin Guidry would be your middle infielders. And Luke Hill is a kid from Episcopal, who, those who don't know, really good player. Went to Arizona State this year. Arizona State was like the first big school to be in on him, so I think he probably felt a little loyalty there. Now, Luke Hill's not in the portal. I want to be clear. He's not in the portal. But he's from here. He's from Baton Rouge and just finished his freshman season. Went to Episcopal, just finished his freshman season at Arizona State. He played third and batted .314. And did he play third or short? I'm sorry. Let me just make sure I didn't screw that up. He played short. I'm sorry. Okay, so he played short. So he played short and batted second for Arizona State this year as a true freshman. So I think there's a scenario where that maybe Luke Hill jumps in the portal and comes back home and goes to LSU. So that's a curveball for you, but I would say Hill at short, Gavin Guidry at second, or maybe flip those two. Tommy White at third. Paxton Kling goes to center. Josh Pearson will have one of your outfield spots. And I don't know who the other outfield spot will be. Maybe Ethan Fry. Maybe a transfer. And then someone asked me about Michael Braswell, who's already committed to LSU. Braswell is a middle infielder from South Carolina. Actually, he's a utility player, can play anywhere in the infield. But, maybe Braswell wins one of those. Maybe Braswell wins your second base job. Maybe wins your shortstop job. And Braswell's your shortstop and Guidry's your second baseman. And you don't get Luke Hill. I don't know. We'll see. Let's see. Johnette, good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Love having you in Southwest Louisiana. Have a great day. Love it. So, my friend Johnette right there just commented on Facebook, GM at Delta Media, who former coworker at Guarantee, now the GM at Delta in Lafayette because she's a rock star. And she's the one who spearheaded getting us on the radio in Lafayette and Lake Charles. So if you live in Lafayette or Lake Charles, and really anywhere in Southwest Louisiana, because it's all along the I-10 corridor, ESPN 103.7 and ESPN 104.1, sort of the signals overlap. So no matter where you're going west of Baton Rouge, you'll have 103.7 into Lafayette, and as you continue going west, you'll pick up 104.1 through Lake Charles and toward Orange and Beaumont. So fired up for it, man. If y'all know LSU fans in Southwest Louisiana, or Saints fans, or sports fans, tell them you can hear AFR every afternoon now on terrestrial radio, ESPN 103.7 Lafayette, ESPN 104.1 Lake Charles. So we are immensely grateful for that. Johnette, you don't know the number of people that have already hit me up like, I can't believe I'm listening to you on my radio, in my car in Lafayette and Lake Charles. Like, this is amazing. So I'm fired up. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And so everybody, please, if you're, let everyone you know in Lafayette and Lake Charles, set a button in their car and tune in weekdays 3 to 6 AFR in Lafayette and Lake Charles. Michael Cook, Carl Van Bergen, good morning. Finally coming home after 3 weeks in Europe. Okay. May have to go to Europe every time LSU is in the College World Series. I tuned in extra in the morning, Scone and AFR. Appreciate the shows. Thank you, Carl. Appreciate that. Kip Kippers, good morning, Matt. Going to be around 90 degrees at 7 p.m. Maybe you should do the show in the pool with T-Bone. We'll be inside of Oliver Twist, so no worries. We'll have AC. Jeff McKithen, Clayton O'Callahan, what's going on? Curious which LSU team across all sports would you consider the greatest in school history based on talent, expectations, and results? Well, it's 2019 football. I don't even know that I have to think about that. Yeah, no, Andrew Johnson said it is true that Burns entered the portal. I know he did. I know he's in the portal. My point is, it's not a given that he's absolutely going to leave. You can put your name in the portal and he could remove his name and choose to stay. And I have no doubt that Tennessee is re-recruiting him to stay. But what I'm saying is, if he does in fact leave Tennessee, I think he will end up at LSU. Lucy B, Brad David, good morning. How long do you think you'll talk baseball and AFR before turning the page to football? Oh, Brad, we'll start mixing in football now. It's just when it's a title game and it's the championship series and all that stuff. I mean, you just have to. And like yesterday, we had to be wall-to-wall baseball. But we were, Brad, we were already talking football all throughout the offseason. But when College World Series really ramped up is when we went heavy baseball. So today, we'll certainly have plenty of football today. Tim Gotro, great job filling in for Hunt on short rest. Get the recovery process going. You're on the bump again at 3. Thanks, Tim. I appreciate it. Yeah, Hunt was. I was happy to do it. It was a long day, but I was happy to do it. So Hunt and his dad went to Omaha. His dad always told him, like, next time LSU is in the College World Series, we're going. And so Hunt and his dad went up. They left Saturday morning at like, they flew out at like 6 a.m. So they went to the championship series. And so they were traveling back yesterday, so he missed the show. But I was happy to fill in for him. Matt Plavadal, Larry Garner, BS, what's going on? Weston Weaver, Leon Williams, Jay Benoit, Damon Gilmore, what's going on? Brian Penton from Pocahontas, good morning from Pocahontas. When does Media Day start? Monday, July 17th is SEC Media Days. So 2 weeks from Monday, we'll be in Nashville at SEC Media Days. Kenneth Polk, good morning. Did you hear anything from the Maniac Camp? Yeah, that's another one, Kenneth. Normally, we always have people recap Maniac Camp. And, because it was the middle of the championship series, we didn't talk a lick about it. So we'll get to that today. I'm glad you said that, actually, because I completely forgot about that. We will circle back to that today. Leon, we can talk Saints. So we will. Jason H., what's going on? Yeah, the dog is, this is Hershey. Erica's sister, Lauren, a.k.a. Larry, those of you who met her during vacation, Morning Scone. This is Lauren and her family's dog. Eli, my little nephew, is Lauren's son, and they're all at the Little League World Series or whatever World Series it is. They're in Myrtle Beach. So we get to watch Hershey for a week while they were gone. Dominique Cottrell, what's going on? Kelly Presley, Tim Gotro, did Handy make it back from Omaha? I'm sure he did. I hope he did. I actually don't know. But Odd told us at the end of the show that there was like 80 people on Handy's flight that were trying to get that connection flight. So they were holding that flight for them in St. Louis or wherever it was. Or Dallas, wherever it was. Deborah Cowart still floating around, going to the celebration tonight. Very cool. Jeremy Fontana, what's going on? Wendell Norman, Spurge, Tiger Diver, Cody Thibodeau. What are Burns' stats? From my understanding, he got demoted from starter to bullpen 2 years in a row. So Burns is a freak show talent. He throws 102. He was in the rotation last year, all year. This year, when Dolander was struggling, they moved Dolander out of Friday to Saturday and put Andrew Lindsay in the rotation. So they went Lindsay, Dolander, Beam, and then Burns went to the bullpen. So he is more than capable of being a starter. He's got great stuff. I mean, the pitch is, look at what we just did with Paul Skeens. Hard throwing righty who became the biggest freak show pitcher we've ever seen. So come here and let's do the same thing. Leon Williams, who is staying pitching wise, should Morgan stay and try to increase pro value? So you got to understand, when you return for your senior year, you lose all your negotiation leverage. So Trey Morgan is 100% gone. Ty Floyd is 100% gone. Dylan Cruz is gone. It doesn't do Trey Morgan any good to come back. I'll remind you, Kramer told us that after his junior year, he decided to come back for his senior year, pass on the draft. And I think he was drafted in, I don't know, around 32 or something like that. His senior year, he was drafted in round 4. He said he was offered more money after his junior year in like round 32 than he was in round 4 his senior year. And he had to take whatever they offered. He had no leverage. So Trey Morgan's 100% gone. As far as pitching, this is going to be a really interesting one because you do have some juniors that could come back that may not have great pro prospects. For example, Riley Cooper. I don't know if Riley Cooper, if scouts are going to look at Riley Cooper and say, yep, we think he can be a big leaguer someday. Maybe, but Riley Cooper could come back for his senior year. Nate Ackenhausen could come back, or he could leave. He's a junior. Javen Coleman is a redshirt sophomore, but as a third-year player, could absolutely leave, or he could try to come back and work his way back into the rotation next year, or he could transfer. So, those are some that are kind of like questionable. Nick Bronzini was a freshman lefty this year you didn't use. Griffin Herring's obviously back. DJ Primo was a freshman from Central and Baton Rouge who didn't pitch this year, but he'll be back. Floyd's gone. Dutton, we'll see what he does. He'll be a junior, but does he come back? Does he transfer? Bryce Collins has another year of eligibility. A guy who transferred in from California or from Arizona who Jay likes, but really had his role relegated this year, and I don't know that maybe he transfers. I don't know. Thatcher Hurd, of course, is back. Excited to see Jaden Newt next year. He's a big 6'4", 225-pounder. Didn't pitch this year due to injury, but that's a kid who throws 98 to 100. We saw Micah Bucknam just a little bit this year, a couple of innings. Aiden Moffitt is back, a freshman who we didn't see this year. I'm really excited. Maybe he had one outing. I'm excited about Moffitt. Aiden Moffitt looks like a defensive end, hard-throwing righty. We'll see what happens with Chase Shores. If he's able, Chase Shores will be back, but because he had Tommy John in the middle of the season, I don't know if he'll be available to pitch next year. I think Garrett Edwards probably leaves because he's a junior, but remember, also had Tommy John middle of the season, so he's probably not going to be able to pitch next year, so why would you come back? You just sign a pro contract wherever you get it, and you go continue your recovery out elsewhere. Blake Money's a junior and probably signs. Caleb Appleby was a JUCO guy who didn't pitch for you this year. He'll be back. Helmers is interesting. Is he back? Christian Little will sign. Skeens obviously is gone. And then the other, like the real big one is Grant Taylor. I would say that's the biggest, of all of them, that's the biggest one to watch is Grant Taylor. Because what's all those little 100 signs popping up on the chat on YouTube? I didn't know you could do that. So Grant Taylor's interesting because he is a draft eligible sophomore. but again, a guy who didn't pitch last year because the Tommy John. Now, the difference is he had his before the season started. So Grant Taylor, in theory, could be ready to go by the start of next year. So if you're Grant Taylor, you look at it two ways. Do you sign this year for $800 and start your pro career? Or do you come back to LSU next year, likely be a part of the rotation, pitch really well, and try to be a first rounder and make a couple $1 million? That's the decision that Grant Taylor has to make. He'd, in essence, be betting on himself if he comes back. So do me a favor, please smash that like button. 135 watching, only 28 likes. Appreciate that if you would. Subscribe up to the channel if you're new. Facebook, please like the page, share the post. Kip Kippers, what's going on, man? Good morning. Good morning. Sorry. Earl, good morning. How does rotation look for next year? Yeah, Earl, I mean, you're basically replacing the whole rotation. That's tricky. I mean, you're losing Skeens and Floyd. And you saw Hurd, you saw Coleman, you saw Cooper. You saw a lot of different players in that third spot. Hurd's back, who obviously is going to be part of your rotation. The lefty transfer from Xavier is certainly an option to be in your rotation. Grant Taylor would certainly be in your rotation. And then I just mentioned a whole bunch of freshmen who didn't pitch this year that are looking to take a big step. So keep an eye on the portal. Tony Cortello, biggest holes to fill next year, your rotation. Obviously, I mean, Skeens and Floyd are gone. Kelly Gross, what's going on? Andrew Johnson, wondering because there was talks. He was staying at Tennessee. I saw someone he did enter after saying he's in the portal. I mean, Chase Burns is confirmed. Chase Burns from Tennessee is in the transfer portal. It's really just a matter of Tennessee can still try to re-recruit him to get him to stay. So we'll see. Steve Caballero, good morning. No, not the skateboard dude. I get that a lot. Who is the skateboard dude? I don't know. But good morning, Steve. I don't know who the skateboard dude is. Kelsey LeBlanc Blades, good morning. Do you think there's any chance my little guy can get an autograph or pick tonight? Do you think there'll be too many people for them to allow player interaction? So, Kelsey, my suggestion would be try... typically what'll happen at events like this, and I don't know exactly how they're going to do it, but typically my guess is the players are going to be in their team room or in the dugout, and then they'll be introduced out onto the field for the celebration, and they'll kind of get that big ovation. Afterwards, I think is when you might have a chance to get pictures, autographs, and honestly, I would tell you after the game, or after the celebration, probably outside the box. I mean, all of the players park in the parking lot right there outside of the box by the first base side. So, I mean, you could just wait right there for them to come out and get your pictures and autographs there. And I think it would be much easier than a game. It's not going to be 12,000 people there tonight, so it'd be much easier than like after a game. I obviously can't guarantee it, but I think you got a good shot. Earl, for the love of God, can people place the grocery baskets in the rack? Amen. Gary Petrie, good morning. Dylan has asked about Travinsky. So about a month ago, I was told Travinsky was leaning into coming back. So now I don't know what Hayden would do if he comes back, because you're obviously going to have Brady Neal back next year. And remember, you signed Bear Jones and Ethan Fry as catchers as well. Milazzo has another year of eligibility as well, but I would assume Milazzo will go pro. But Travinsky's got an interesting decision to make. I don't know that he's going to be a catcher. He's probably more of a first base DH at the next level. So does he try to come back and run it back another year at LSU, try to win another one? Or does he go sign? That's an interesting decision. I was told about a month ago he was leaning toward coming back. Sean asked about Gavin Guidry. Well, yeah, I mean, Guidry, yes, Guidry certainly could pitch next year again, or he could play middle infield, or he could do both. And everyone just assuming he'll be a two-way guy. There's certainly a possibility that that could happen. I don't know that I would say that's a guarantee. Look at Skeens this year. He was just too valuable as a pitcher. They couldn't risk putting him in the box. I mean, think about what happened to Cade Beloso in the championship game. Got hit in the back and hit on the hand. What if that was Paul Skeens in the batter's box getting hit on the hand with a pitch? Oh, my God. Your season's over. So, Sir Cajun Carter. Do you think LSU can maintain a Major League Baseball franchise? Oh, Louisiana, I'm sorry. No, I do not. Matt Plavidal. Jay was on the portal seconds after the Natty. He was, Matt, I'm sure he was on the portal. Oh, he was on the portal well before because they got Braswell and they got Lower, the kid from Xavier. So they were already on it. Trust me, they were already on it. Tiger Diver, how wild will T be tonight? I don't know, man. So, of course, Scone and T tonight and every Wednesday at Oliver Twist in Baton Rouge. 7 o'clock. Y'all come join us. Great spot. Antron just got back from Omaha. Had a blast cheering on the Tigers. Very nice, man. Great trip. Ryan Pike, 67 days till kickoff. Very nice. Armstrong Grappling. Let's see. Said Burns has closed the door and returning to UT and TCU, the likely destination at this point. Okay. Zach Lins, Matt, do you think Jay purposely had Guidry as the closer, passing the torch to the next leader of the team? Give him reasoning to still want to pitch into next season. No, I don't think that's it, Zach. I think they followed their plan, which was, they went to Riley Cooper, and then Cooper handed the ball to Guidry. And, even Jay said it afterwards, the plan, they had Skeens hot. And I think the plan was they were going to go to Skeens if it got within 6 runs. And so as LSU kept scoring, they shut Skeens down. So I don't think there was anything like that. I don't know that there was, and I don't think Zach, he needs reason to still want to pitch. I think Guidry could do either, whatever, they might use him to do both next year. Matt Plavidal. Matt, now that the season's over, I'll ask again, is Trey Morgan the greatest brother Martin Crusader to play at LSU? Mentioned Blair Barbier before. Yeah, I think Blair and Trey, that's probably your list, right? I'd have to go look and see if there are other ones that I'm forgetting, but those are the two most obvious, and generally the most obvious answer is the answer. Blair, of course, was a 4-year starter, was a team captain and won 2 national championships in 97 and 2000. He played second and third for LSU. I believe Trey, in different eras, obviously, right? Yet, this is the BB Corbett era, so it's just a little different. They're different stylistically. But, Trey playing first, I think Trey's the better. If you ask me, who do I think has the better pro career? Trey. Who had the better college career? Flip a coin. Blair was so valuable as a leader, and Trey got a little overshadowed on a team with Dylan Cruz and Tommy White and Paul Skeens. But, you're splitting hairs there, man. Let's see, Kyle Milliken, safe to say at this point, Guidry would be a 2-way player. Yeah. You got so many arms, I can't, if Guidry ends up becoming your starting short, here's a scenario for you. If Guidry ends up becoming your starting shortstop and you're in a 1-run game in the 9th inning, do you take out your starting shortstop to pitch the 9th and have a replacement at short? You know what I mean? So I don't know. I really don't know. We'll see. Stephen Miller, good morning. Skip said the best overall champion was 96. Have you been thinking about ranking the championship teams or at least top 3? So, Stephen, it's funny because when I was filling in for Hunt yesterday, we had Ronnie on, and Ronnie mentioned that about Skip, is saying 96 team. And the interesting thing about 96 is the only player on the 96 team, among the regulars, right, the everyday starters, the only player that played in the major leagues was Warren Morris. That's it. I mean, I can run through that whole starting lineup. Tim Lanier caught. Eddie Furnace was at first. Warren was at second. Nathan Dunn was at third. Jason Williams was at short. You had Cooley in left, Kerner in center, Justin Bowles in right. Brad Wilson was your DH. Warren Morris was the only one that played in the majors. So of all the championship teams, that was actually the least, I would say least, I'm going to use this term loosely, but say least talented in terms of big leaguers, right? But I think Skip talked about, like their team concept, the togetherness, all that sort of stuff. And 96 was great. I think 96 started the season like 16-0. They were great. It was a great team. But if I'm just talking about like talent, right? Like just talent. 91, the entire rotation ended up pitching in the major leagues. Chad Oj, Paul Bird, Sorotka. You had Rick Green was your closer, who was a first-round draft pick. Like the arms on 93 were great, or 91, excuse me, were great. And then you had Rush Johnson, Andy Sheets, Lyle Mouton, who all became big leaguers as well. So 91 was great. They were legit great. 2000 and 2009, I think, had the most big leaguers all the way around. When you think about Jorgensen, Fontenot, Terrio, Haup, Tallett, Human, Hodges, 2000 was an insanely talented baseball team. And that's not even considering a guy like Brad Cressy, who won the Johnny Bench Award. Wally Ponoff was a freshman on that team who played great. And then 09, similar, right? Matuk, Nola, Schimpf, LeMahieu, Renato, Coleman. I mean, the amount of big leaguers on 2009 was silly. Like those were the two most talented championship teams. I think this one blows them all out of the water. It just like we will look back, I think, Steven, I don't know if you agree with this, but I think we'll look back in 10 years, 20 years at this championship team similar to we do the 2019 football team. When you're looking at, Joe and Jamar and Jefferson and Patrick Queen and Clyde was a first rounder and Caleb Chasson and Grant Delpit. And I mean, you just look up and down and you're like, oh my God, Cushenberry became a starter as a rookie at center with the Broncos. You know what I mean? Like, I think we'll look back at this LSU baseball team in the same way we look at 2019 football, just as far as the fact that history is going to remember this team fondly because we're going to look back at all the pro careers that they go have. We're going to go, God, all those guys played together in college. So, Deborah Coward, Dylan's Golden Spikes Award got buried in the championship excitement. Announcement should have been scheduled better. So, Deborah, I'm going to disagree with you. I'm going to disagree with you for this reason. Most of the time when awards like that are given out, it's like on the rubber chicken circuit on a random Tuesday night in Charlotte or something like that. I think they intentionally did it before Game 2 of the championship series so that more people would be aware. So while, yes, we were, more focused on the game itself than the award, more people, nationally would be aware of it because it was awarded just prior to the game. So I actually disagree with you, Deborah. I think the way they did it was actually really smart to do it and do like a 30-minute TV presentation, build up, lead up to the game. So I actually liked it like that. Yeah, Zach Lynn said, what about Mick Paul and Zeb in the outfield? Yeah, Zeb Rudell. Yeah, I mean, they'll have a shot to go win jobs, but I think it's safe to say that Kling and Pearson have 2 jobs on lockdown. So you got 1 spot open. And then, y'all, the other thing, too, is, what does Braden Joubert do? Like, Braden Joubert could come back. I tend to believe he made himself a lot of money this year. He is a redshirt junior, so this was his 4th year, but he has another year if he wants to come back. But being a 4th-year guy who won a national championship, became your everyday right fielder, it's probably a situation where he signs, but he could come back too. Just worth pointing out. Gerald Mathern, what's going on? Jerry DeLucky right there with you. Was at the grocery yesterday. The lazy blankety blanks. Left the car in the parking lot 10 feet from the rack. Oh, man. Glad you're back, Jerry. Been a minute, man. Jerry and his wife went on a 2-week sojourn. They were drove up to, I don't know, the Dakotas and then over to Colorado and Arizona and back through Texas. They just went halfway around the country. Let's see. Michael Castello, good morning. George Ray, good morning. Stephen Miller, the best part about the elongated baseball run, it ate up 33 days of summer. Now we're only 67 days from kickoff. Brother, you know what I'm going to say, but as a talk show host, there is nothing better than LSU baseball getting us deep into June. Because when LSU baseball plays into June, I'm sitting here looking around going, okay, well, we'll bask in the afterglow for a few more days. Next week's 4th of July, so we'll be off on Tuesday. And then I got one more week till media days. And media days and I used to take a week off at the beginning of July, but media days will be a week's worth of content. And then the week after media days, the Saints report for training camp. And then the week after that, LSU reports for fall camp. And it's here, brother. So there is nobody happier about LSU baseball playing into deep June than a sports talk radio host. Trust me. All right, y'all. You're fun, Sayad. What's going on, Kenneth Polk? If you get any pitching coach, who would be your guy? I like the idea of bringing in Nate Yeske. He was with Jay at Arizona. He's at A&M now. I've also been told Jay is looking at guys from the pro ranks again, and I couldn't tell you honestly that I have any sense of what guys coaching in Major League Baseball or in a minor league system somewhere might be interested in getting into college ball. I asked, have not been told names, but I do know Jay is considering doing again what he did with Wes. So, hang on one second, y'all. Drew's awake. Let me get him out of his bed. All right. Do you think Dylan Cruz will transfer? I think Dylan Cruz is going to go make about $9 million next week. Do you think Shores will fill the shoes of Skeens? No, Drips, because I don't know that when Chase Shores is going to be able to pitch. Keep in mind, he had his Tommy John middle of the season. So if that's a 12, 18-month injury, he may not even be available to pitch next year. So it's a big question. Spurge, props to you on the coverage after shows during the College World Series. Thanks, Spurge. Appreciate y'all watching, man. Strong side, may have missed your answer. Who's our candidates for pitching coach? Yeah, so the three names that I was told was Nate Yeskie, who's the who's the Texas A&M pitching coach, who was with Jay at Arizona. Um, um, Corey Mascara, who is the pitching coach at Wake. However, I was told he plans to stay at Wake because he's going to be the heir apparent for Tom Walter when Tom Walter retires at Wake. So I think Corey Mascara is staying there, and then the other is sorry. The other is Robert Woodard, who is the head baseball coach at Charlotte. And I was like, why would he leave a head baseball coaching job to go be a pitching coach? And it makes sense, actually. A lot of Power Fives don't look for G5 head coaches. They're more likely to pluck a pitching coach or hitting coach, something like that, from another Power Five. Look at what's happened at LSU the last 2 years. Jason Kelly was LSU's pitching coach. He got the Washington job. Wes Johnson was the LSU pitching coach. He got the Georgia job. So if you're Robert Woodard, you're more likely to get a top 10, 15 job in the country by coming to be the LSU pitching coach than you are being the Charlotte head coach, if that makes sense. So those are the three names I was told, and then I was told, that Jay would consider a pro again. But ultimately, I think Yeskie's got to be the sort of betting favorite there. Ray Langlois, happy to see the MLB draft not occur in the middle of the championship. Yeah, I mean, they changed that and moved it back into July, which is a good thing that it's not in the College World Series. Spurge, given the initial questions regarding the bullpen and what they've achieved, getting us the championship, where do you rank them against teams from Wake, Vols, Gators? Well, I mean, if I'm looking at like projectability, the arms that Wake had, the arms that Tennessee had, Florida, no. Florida's rotation was pretty great, and Neely is a great closer, but Florida didn't have great depth in their bullpen. They again had a great rotation, but by the end of the season, you identified your guys that could get you outs and you rode them, and they were pretty great. I get this question a lot. Does the Natty put more pressure on Brian Kelly and the football team? And I honestly, what's funny that you asked that. So I got asked the same question after Kim Mulkey won the championship. And I only remember this because Drew pulls up his iPad and watches old episodes of Morning Scone. And there's an episode where I was driving where someone asked me that question, and Drew watches that one over and over and over. So I've heard that a million times and the answer a million times. My answer is no. It doesn't put more pressure on Brian Kelly because there's always going to be absurd expectations on LSU football regardless. It's harder to see when you're living through a baseball run or like when you were living through the women's basketball run, but like Skip winning titles in the 90s didn't put more pressure on football to win. It was just a great distraction from football not being great. It was great to celebrate a baseball title on its own. What I'll say is the reverse. When football is great, it takes some of the pressure off of the other programs, meaning if football is great and basketball stinks, we just kind of like, all right, when's spring football? You know what I mean? If baseball is great and Brian Kelly goes 7-5 this year, people aren't going to be more ticked off because baseball won. They're going to be ticked off because you expect LSU to be great in football all the time. George Ray's asking about MJ Seau, or Seo. I don't really know how to say it. It's just SEO. He's an LSU commitment for this year's class. From Texas, he's an infielder and a pitcher. I have no idea, what's going to happen with the draft and all that sort of stuff. I'll have a much better sense. Like I'll tell you what I did last year is I I got a list of all of the LSU. Y'all may remember we did this. I got a list of all of the LSU commitments, and I called buddies that were scouts. Like, all right, where are you projecting this guy? Where is he going to go? Like, and I made them three categories. It was like absolutely coming to school, like no chance in hell, and then you got to sweat it out. And so I'll do that again as we get closer to the draft. All right, y'all. Jeff Hawk, good morning, man. Hope you're doing great. Ray Langlois. If a player pitches and is taken out, is he out for the game or can he come back? He would have to go straight to a position. So like, but you would lose the DH in that sense. So if, excuse me, actually no, forgive me, that's the other way around. If you have a two-way guy that pitches and DHs, then you would lose your DH if he goes to a position. Like that's what would happen with Caglione. Or he would stay in the game as DH. If he pitched and came out of the game, he would stay in the game as... That's what happened in the championship game for Caglione. He pitched, and when they took him out of the game, he didn't go to first base. He just stayed in the game as the DH, because if he had gone to first base, then your pitcher would have to hit. So... So if a pitcher comes out of the game, then he can't go back in. If a pitcher pitches, then you could like put him at first base or something like that, or wherever you want to put him. Thomas Terry, what about the Alabama pitcher we got? Yeah, man. He was a Cade Woods, he's from Monroe, and he was a draft risk out of high school. Like he was a guy that they thought would sign a pro contract out of high school, but had a UCL injury, so he had Tommy John, and that ultimately sent him to school. And he is a really good arm. I mean, he is a really good bullpen arm. Again, I mean, that was a guy that was a draft risk out of high school. So immediate impact guy in the bullpen. He actually pitched this year in a game against Florida where he struck out the final 7 hitters of the game. He came in relief and struck out 7 straight against Florida. So, yeah, man. Again, a Monroe kid who is coming home, coming back to Louisiana. So that's a big one. That is a big bullpen arm. All right, y'all. We might be just about done. Appreciate y'all for being here. Brett DeGrow. I don't think Skeens and Cruz are going to get lowballed. I think they're going to sign. Eric Waterrotter, curious if there's a similar tracker for baseball NIL money spent on recruiting. Curious how much we spend relative to the other teams. I think it would surprise you where the assumption is LSU went and bought Skeens and bought Tommy Tanks and all that stuff. Like I'm not comfortable disclosing certain things, but what I will tell you is Paul Skeens didn't get like this wheelbarrow full of cash. I mean, most, if not all, the players are getting something from the collective, but it wasn't like they broke the bank. I mean, don't think that's the case there. Most of the time, it's what you have to do to make sure that you compensate to, for 11.7 scholarships to make sure you cover tuition, room, board, books, etc. And, maybe some spending money on the side. So. All right. Bear24 said that the NIL changes hurt LSU. No, so basically what the NCAA did was said to all schools, you have to abide by NCAA rules regardless of what your state government law may pass. So what some states were doing is they were passing laws allowing for NIL payments to be made through foundations, and so it could be write-off and you get priority points of it. And they basically said, no more of that. Like, that's not allowed. The NCAA said that's not allowed under our rules. So your state government could put a law in, but this is our rules, and you can't do that under our rules. So that's kind of what they were trying to get Congress to do. And the NCAA we'll see if they can enforce it, or if there's going to be lawsuits or what may happen. But that was pretty significant, that memo the NCAA sent out. So we'll talk about that. Devin Johnson, John Hilburn, when is Lamar going to update the Intimidator? It's updated, John. They're going to unveil it tonight at this championship celebration. Kerry Hughes, not sure if you mentioned on the show yesterday, but that phone call you mentioned before the season started of your friend watching practice saying LSU was going to win the Natty has been running through my mind since Monday evening. That's a great point, Kerry. I forgot about that. If you don't remember the story, I forgot about that. Good call. So it was one of my buddies, it's a scout, who went to watch him, and it was the first day of practice. And he called me. It was like 8:30 at night, and I knew he was there, so he was calling me as he was leaving practice. I totally forgot about that, Kerry. And so he called me, and I picked up the phone. I go, "So we win in the Natty?" He goes, "Yup." He goes, he said, in 30 years, that is the most talent I've ever seen on a college baseball team. Forgot about that, Kerry. Good call. I need to call him today and remind him of that. I need to call him today and remind him of that. Anyway. All right, y'all. We're done. I got to get rolling here. Y'all have a great day. Thanks so much for being here. My LSU Daily, I posted last night because I was doing Hunt Show and my show. I didn't get to an LSU Daily yesterday morning. So I posted one yesterday evening, which is sort of the recap of the Natty and everything like that. So that was today's episode. So it's live if you want to check it out. And we'll get back on schedule for tomorrow. So, all right. Thanks so much for watching. Y'all smash the like button. As always, shout out to Brock, the Baton Rouge Orthopedic Clinic, Hudco Roofing. You need an orthopedist, go to Brock. Brock Rock and Wine, great fundraiser in Tiger Stadium, South Stadium Club, Saturday, July 29th. Wine, food, live music, benefiting the Brock Foundation. And of course, Hudco Roofing, HudcoRoofing.com. Y'all have a great day. We'll see you. Peace.